welcome to, again, sunny Cologne with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra versus the iPhone 15 Pro Max that we want to compare, especially in the camera department right now. So let's get started. Very sunny day here again in Cologne, and looking at the camera specifications, we can see the 1-inch type sensor, of course, on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, and its quadruple 50 megapixel setup, where the iPhone only has the 48 megapixel main camera sensor that is a little bit smaller than the main camera on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, and two 12 megapixel sensors. One is a 5x optical zoom, which is quite good, as well as the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which also features a 5x optical zoom in a periscope lens, however, and also has another zoom sensor, which is a 3x zoom. And then we also have some front-facing shooters there, and I think we start off with those front-facing cameras and their video capabilities. Front-facing video with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, 4K 30 frames per second, but can also record 4K 60 frames per second. These are numbers where the Xiaomi can only dream about. What do you think about the HDR here? What about stabilization? And what do you think about the colors as well when I go into the sun? Is it a little bit overexposed on my face? How does this look like here on the iPhone? This is now the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, 1080p only, 30 frames per second here. You can go up to 1080p, 60 frames per second. Nevertheless, I think this is a bummer, even though the quality is quite okay, I would say, for front-facing 1080p camera only. Also HDR, I think, should be fine as well. How's the exposure on my face here with the sun there? How about the stabilization? I think it's also pretty okay for 1080p, but it's a super flagship. It should have 4K. What do you think about this one here? And also in terms of stabilization. And now recording with the main camera sensor on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. What do you think about this one here? I think it's pretty good. It has a nice background blur, it has nice stabilization, and I think the colors are also okay, where I think they are maybe overdoing it a little bit with the contrast here and there. What do you think about HDR? And 4K 30 allows us, of course, also to switch to the ultra wide angle with a very smooth animation. So yeah, there we have the ultra wide angle on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. What do you think about this one here? It's pretty wide, has, I think, a little bit of this yellowish kind of face. I think maybe the same as with the main camera sensor that you will see here. Stabilization is good. Also this added little bit sprinkle of contrast there as well. What do you think about this one here? Overall, I think it's a very solid camera system. We want to try and zoom in on something. So let's try to zoom in on this bridge there. You can go up to 2x and then 5x, which switches the lens to the 5x optical. And then we zoom in up to 15 times. And then I think it gets a bit grainy there, but detail level is quite okay. What do you think about this one here? Here now the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, also at 15 times, 4K 30, a little bit unstable for a second. I can zoom out, and I don't have buttons, I have a slider only. It should switch lenses now from the 5x to the 3.2x, now again to the 1x. And now let's check out the 1x lens, the 1-inch type sensor on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, the major highlight here, which gives us a nicer background blur as on the iPhone. But how about the colors? How about HDR? Is it competing with the iPhone? How about the contrast and so on? Is it competing? How about my face? Is it too blue or is it too yellow? Write it down in the comment section. And of course, we can also, while recording 4K 30, switch to the ultra wide angle. So let's do this. And there we go. This is the ultra wide angle here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. What do you think about the quality here? I think it's pretty wide as well. It is noticeably a bit worse than the 1-inch type sensor, but how does it compete against the iPhone? What do you think about stabilization, colors, HDR, and so on? Video comparison, and we start off with the front-facing videos. What we can see here is not much of a difference on the first glance. The colors are muted, they're not super punchy, I would say, not overdoing it. They're pretty realistic. You can see that maybe because the sun is shining here on my shirt, it's not truly black. Someone reminded me of, like, you have to check if it's really black. But to be completely honest, yes, the shirt was once black, but it is a 1, 2 years, 3 years maybe old. So it's more going towards a lighter black, let's say it like this. Nevertheless, what you can see here is almost the same, a bit more yellowish here because the sun is like shining on my face there from the side. I kind of find somewhere where I'm in the shadows. Maybe this is like a little bit too bright there, I would say, but what you can see is that the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is lifting up the shadows on my right side for sure, where the iPhone is not doing this so much. Here you can see it as well, especially around my eye, it's much darker, but maybe it has nothing to do with the shadow lifting. Maybe it has something to do with the iPhone having a little bit more contrasty look. You can see it here, way less contrast, way more contrast here. Let's go a bit further there. And both have this like a little bit overexposure here on the right side of my face, left side here with my mouse cursor. And what you can also see is that, yeah, the more contrasty look gives it a bit more sharpness. No, it's not only the contrasty look, it's just simply because the iPhone has 4K and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra has only 1080p. It's not bad for 1080p. I think it's doing a quite a good job for 1080p, but still, it is, yeah, only 1080p for super flagship. And then if you calculate in that, yeah, even if I don't like this more contrasty look on the iPhone so much, if you calculate in that we have autofocus on the front-facing camera here, it makes no sense to declare the Xiaomi 13 Ultra the winner. It's definitely the iPhone 15 Pro Max, even though I think both have some HDR rendering stuff issues there with whites around the tree branches and so on, but this is, I think, not so important. Let's go to the main camera, and there we can talk about the bokeh and the colors there, because here I think it's very, very clear that the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is overdoing it with the colors. It's over punching the colors clearly here. It's yellowing and redding my face clearly. It's lifting the shadows on the left side of my eye way more than the iPhone. And yeah, it looks a little bit too artificial, too goofy, too clowny almost in comparison with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And what the iPhone does when I have to critique it is adding a little bit too much contrast. My hair color is not this dark as on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's more going to this brighter color here, even though the Xiaomi is overdoing it, but it's closer to the real color than the iPhone. And when we go into 100% view, what we can see is also the bokeh balls are a little bit busy, a bit fuzzy, a bit fiddly here. You can see it around the bushes, around the tree. There is something going on, which I only noticed when I was comparing with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, because it's ultra smooth here. It has bokeh balls here, really, and it's not so fuzzly. So yeah, when it comes to bokeh alone, then the Xiaomi 13 would win, Xiaomi 13 Ultra, but it's not about bokeh only. Let's go to the ultra wide angle and let's compare the ultra wide angle with each other. You can see how very good matched they are to the main camera sensors, because basically we have the same kind of scenario here, a bit too yellowish, to colorful, to punchy colors here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, lifted shadows, not so much lifted shadows, and more contrast added to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Towards the sides it's getting pretty soft here. It's very sharp on the center, where the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is soft all over the place. So in the center it's not so sharp. Maybe it's sharpening up, maybe it's natural sharpness on the iPhone, but it's also pretty soft towards the sides, as you can see here. And yeah, both doing, I think, a fine job, but in the end I would give the win to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is better in this regard. And then we go to the zoom shots. Let me catch the zoom shot for, not the first one, a little bit further away kind of zoom shot, like this one here, where you can clearly see the iPhone 15 Pro Max with the 5x zoom would win against the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. I'm not sure what's going on here, because I think in photos it's the other way around, but in video the iPhone is clearly winning here. More contrast also leads a little bit more to perceived sharpness, I would say. It's looking very noisy here. It's also, we got noise reduction kicking in, but this like kind of flare effect that's lifting up every shadow is like a very not contrasty kind of look, is like not so appealing to me. But you can tell me what you think about this one here. And then of course, oops, then of course we have a little bit further away. Can I find this spot? Roughly here, I would say. Here also the much more contrasty look, much more like colorful look as well. Look at the trees here, where there's a bit, yeah, less contrast for sure on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. What do you think? Which one is better? Overall, I would prefer the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Much more realistic colors here in zoom shots. I even would give the win to the iPhone 15 Pro Max because it looks, with this more contrasty look, a little bit sharper. With the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, it's just too hazy looking for me here. Front-facing camera, definitely the iPhone. Main camera sensor, because of the colors, even though the iPhone is not 100% right, it is the best of the two, because the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is just too colorful, too punchy there, and making a gloomy day look, or like not 100% sunny day look like it's in the middle of summer, which is a bit weird. So too punchy kind of colors on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Overall, the winner in terms of video, I have to give it to the iPhone 15 Pro Max. One clarification, and yeah, you will notice I have a different kind of hairstyle now. It's a different day. I noticed that when I was editing the video, that I totally forgot that the Xiaomi 13 Ultra also has a Pro mode for video recording, and here we have it side by side now with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And what do you think about the Xiaomi 13 Ultra now in terms of videography? I think it is much more natural here with the colors. It's not overdoing it so much. Yeah, it is a bit of a cloudy day. We have October already here in Cologne, so yes, it is hard to get a sunny day every day. But what you'll notice is it is not so yellow, my face right now, and also the shadows are not lifted so much as with the normal video mode. So this might be one option where you can simply fix the Xiaomi 13 Ultra a little bit here. What do you think about this one side by side? I will switch from the Xiaomi 13 Ultra to the iPhone 15 Pro Max right now at full screen, and talk a little bit there, and then switch back to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, and you be the judge which one is better in terms of video recording. I'm using one device for audio recording, so I hope they are both in sync somehow. So what do you think? We start off with the photos. iPhone 15 Pro Max always on the left, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra always on the right. I was using the Leica Authentic mode here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra only for this shot, so you get a little bit more yellowish kind of colors, a bit more true to life, where the iPhone is a bit more bluish here. But here in the front you can see a bit more punchy colors on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra for sure. When we zoom in, we can see that clearly the iPhone is doing some more processing and sharpening things up there, which looks a bit more artificial in comparison to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which looks a bit more real. It's also sharpening things up, but if you have to choose, be honest, which one would you choose? Even if I can I zoom in here? I cannot zoom in on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, but even if I would zoom in, why I cannot zoom in? There. Even if I zoom in a little bit, you can see it is much softer, not so much sharpened up there. And when we go to the next shot, this is the ultra wide angle. I took this one with the Leica Vibrant option, where you can clearly see it's raising up the shadows much more on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. The detail levels is a bit softer here for some reason, I'm not sure why. Otherwise very comparable, much more punchy colors on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, hence the Vibrant mode. When I switch to the Authentic mode, you can clearly see it's much closer to the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but when you clearly look at it, the shadows are even darker, and I think it's a bit more bluish here, especially on the pavement, where the iPhone is sharpening things, is rising a little bit the exposure there, and it's also going more towards the yellow kind of color. But when we come to sharpness levels, the details on the building is back again. A bit more warmer here, a bit more bluish there. Here again a little bit more yellowish, the tree there in the background, the iPhone more true to life for sure. Foreground very comparable in terms of sharpness. When we come to the edges, I think also very comparable, but what we can also see is like also the noise level very comparable. I think the iPhone is sharpening a little bit more up here. What we can see is also when we go to the far edge that we have a little bit wider field of view on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, because the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is using the 12 millimeters here, and the iPhone 15 Pro Max is using 14 millimeters. Otherwise, we can see chromatic aberrations on both, which is pretty much the deal here. When we go to the zoom shot, I think we have a little bit, yeah, we have definitely with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra this 3.5 times zoom shot, which gives you nice photos. iPhone 15 Pro Max is using the Ultra, it's using the main camera sensor and cropping in. You can clearly see, yes, the more flexibility you have with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra with its 3.5 times zoom, which is much clearer here. Definitely one advantage. 5 times zoom, on first glance I don't notice much of a difference. Both are a little bit noisy there. Both have good detail levels, both have a bit color difference. This is warmer, this is like a little bit more bluish. You can see it here in the blue, much more pronounced here. We have a Leica vibrant mode, like I said, on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra that I'm using here for the rest of the shots, so this might explain it. But when it comes to zoom shots, ultimately, when it comes to like optimizations and so on, I think I like the Xiaomi 13 Ultra a little bit better. You can clearly see it here on the 10 times zoom. We have a bit like raised shadows again on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is not doing this. A bit too warm here overall, more natural on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. And when we look at texts, for example, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is able to maintain the text, and you can clearly read it. But here you cannot read what's going on. Here you can read, okay, check your basement because there might be a cat. We're missing a cat. So it's readable. If you know German, you can read it. Here it's very hard to read, almost impossible to read. You can see also the detail level on the tree looks much more natural on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra at the 100% view. And we go to even further, 25 times zoom, the same. Basically the same. You can read it, what's going on here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, you cannot. So the optimization on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra when it comes to those longer zooms, especially for text or something like this, is much better there. When it comes to macro shots, however, the iPhone 15 Pro Max is beating the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. The Xiaomi 13 Ultra should use the ultra wide angle for macro shot, but for some reason it's written 23 millimeters. Maybe it was using the ultra wide angle but cropping in. I'm not so sure. But the detail level you can clearly see here, a bit noisy. Good details, good for macro shots with the ultra wide angle, but nowhere near the iPhone. The iPhone is beating it hands down. What someone told me is a little tip: use the 5 times zoom and step a little bit back, because the 5 times zoom can also get very close. And yes, in this time you can see it's a bit closer. It's not so sharp, however. But I will check this out even further to see if I can get better shots with the 5 times zoom. For some reason, this window is a little bit off. Next shot. Selfie cam, you can see, yes, we have HDR. We can see the clouds there in the background of the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. This is the only good point about it. Otherwise, you can see overexposed face and not a good shot. Even if this shot is like overexposed here in the background, the main subject, me, is nice and sharp. More megapixels on the Xiaomi is not really helping here. In this case, you can see, every day the iPhone. And if I even go into portrait mode, the same kind of thing. We have now overblown here, overblown there, but I like the iPhone 15 Pro Max a bit better. Portrait shots, Xiaomi has this own Leica portrait magic kind of filters. So they're adding vignetting, they are softening up the face a lot. This is now the 50 millimeters, so 2 times 50 millimeters on the iPhone, both portrait mode. Which one do you prefer? The iPhone keeps it more real, my face. Colors, I wish they would raise a little bit there, the exposure. Colors more right on the iPhone, a little bit artificial and sharpening, and not sharpening, I mean beautifying my face a little bit there on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Which would you prefer? I think cutouts are done nicely. The Xiaomi has this nice bubble effect there for the bokeh, which is quite nice. 5 times zoom on the iPhone 15 Pro Max in portrait mode. The Xiaomi 13 Ultra sadly doesn't allow portrait mode for the 5 times zoom, so I'm just doing a normal 5 times zoom. And here I think I prefer the Xiaomi 13 Ultra because my face is much more, I don't look like a ghost or something like this. On the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's noisy as heck, but it's also dark all over the place. And I know it might be more realistic, but come on. If I want to do portrait shots or something like this, I want my face more to look like bright like this here than like this. And then this is another shot here with, 3 times zoom, just to show against 3.5 times zoom. Very soft on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra for some reason. Very noisy and also very soft on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So forget about it. Forget about the 90 millimeters. This is also 3.5 times zoom without the bokeh, without the portrait mode, versus 5 times zoom now without the portrait mode. And just to compare it, I think the 3.5 times zoom is doing a bit better. Again, the colors here, it's just a horrible looking there, and very noisy, soft. It's also a bit soft, but overall I think the better portrait lens. And then overall I think they're on par when it comes to the portraits. I would even prefer the 15 Pro Max for the for the 5x portrait, because it has a 5x portrait mode, when the colors would be right. Here 35mm, the iPhone has the possibility to click on the 1x button 2 times and you are 35mm, and this is the shot that you can get. Very grainy, very noisy, not very sharp. The Xiaomi 13 Ultra has a quick shot mode or fast shot mode. If you have the additional camera grip, you can activate it by pressing the camera by default, or you just go into the more settings and go to quick shot or fast shot mode, and you get 35mm by default, much sharper, much brighter face, beautified face, but in this case I prefer the Xiaomi 13 Ultra at 35mm, and you will see it later on as well. But 5x, let's talk about 5x zoom lens. You can clearly see already here, I think, a bit more bokeh on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, so looks a bit better. Close focusing distance and so on I was talking about. It's a bit grainy again on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. They don't do much of a anti-grain there, but also look at this. It is just simply Xiaomi 13 Ultra, I think, is destroying there the iPhone's 5x zoom for the close focusing kind of things like the leaves here, and for the bokeh as well. So yes, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra in this case has, I think, an advantage to the iPhone 15 Pro Max at 5x zoom. This one we saw already. Let's go back, and another 5x zoom shot. Where we can clearly see it as well. 5x zoom. It's not so close of a subject, and it's a bit grainy, it's a bit noisy there. Look at this, now compare it with this here. Which one would you take? Look at the numbers, for example. A bit soft there, a lot sharper there, a lot clearer on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. So overall, I think this shot makes it clear, made it clear for me as well, that I think the Xiaomi 13 Ultra's 5x zoom is better than the iPhone's 5x zoom. Color difference, also notice the color difference, more blue, more yellowish here. And now let's go to this one here, 35mm. We were talking about close focusing distance on the iPhone is very bad. On the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, even with a larger sensor, 35mm, you can see I can get this shot here very clearly. This is in focus here, front is not in focus for sure. Same distance, iPhone 15 Pro Max, no chance to get anything in focus here. Just the background, I think, is in focus, not even that. So yeah, the iPhone 15 Pro Max struggles there with close focusing with the main camera sensor. Otherwise, you can see also a bit more punchy colors here on the Xiaomi, like I said, like a vibrant. Otherwise, what we also have here is 2x zoom, and I think 2x zoom on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is also doing a better job than on the iPhone 15 Pro Max because it's optimizing a little bit more. You can clearly see it's a bit noisy. It's not so much edited on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, where here it is a bit more edited, a bit more straightened up, and denoised on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. And yeah, you can tell me what you like better. I prefer, even if it's a bit fake looking here, especially in this regard here with the colors, the vibrant mode is like kicking in here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. I prefer a little bit more editing here that we have on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra to the iPhone 15 Pro Max in that regard. Now 3x zoom, of course, the iPhone doesn't have any chance. This is just to demonstrate you again the 3x zoom. Also, I don't like the colors on the iPhone 15 Pro Max because it's way too yellowish in this case, where it's more blue and more realistic on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. But you can see clearly you get more flexibility with the 3.2x zoom on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. This is 10x zoom versus 10x zoom, long distance test, very noisy, heavily edited a little bit there. Let's go into 25x zoom on both. You can see both are like preparing like one of the canoes, I think, for a little vacation. And much noisier, much more optimized shot. And I think you can also see either the optimization or the optics that the Xiaomi is a bit better. This is now a 25x zoom. And we're going to the dog. Here we have even a little bit more zoom, up to 120x zoom, which is of course more than art when you go 100%. But if you want to, you have the possibility. Dim lit situation, of course, I have to include a shot of my dog with the main camera sensor here. A bit noisy but sharp. Here a bit soft and not so sharp, but here a bit more too warm, too yellowish kind of fur, where the Xiaomi 13 Ultra keeps the fur at least a little bit more real. You can clearly see also here the larger bokeh on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra and the more megapixels on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Which one do you prefer? Is it more punchy? This is less punchy. Write it down in the comments. Overall, I'm surprised that the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is keeping up with the iPhone 15 Pro Max in this regard. For most parts, I would even say the Xiaomi 13 Ultra might be the better choice. Ultra wide angle I like a bit better on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. You get basically the same as with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but with a little bit less noise and with a wider field of view. The zoom lens is more flexible on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra thanks to the 3.2x zoom, and the 5x zoom is also better on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra than on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Main camera sensor is also better on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. So better on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. You can, if you disagree, write down why in the comment section, and that's it. Nighttime videography with the iPhone 15 Pro Max and 4K 30 frames per second is set, but I also have in the settings auto FPS, which could get this down to 24 frames per second. I'm standing under the lights right now. How well does the iPhone do with this kind of situation, and how good is the microphone picking up my voice, because I'm using no external microphone, just the internal mics here. Now let's go a little bit into the dark with the light still shining on my face, but behind me you will see it's very dark. What do you think about the quality here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max main camera sensor? Now recording with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which has a dedicated night video mode, which can record 4K with 24 frames per second, and this is what I'm using right now. I'm standing under the light here. Let's get a little bit further. And using the internal microphones, what do you think about the quality here of the video and audio? And then I'm like going away from the light into the dark, and let's see how the exposure on my face is, how is noise, how good is stabilization. We have a 1-inch type sensor here. I think it should in theory do better than the iPhone, but is it really the case? Write it down in the comment section. What do you think? Which one wins here in terms of night video, the iPhone or the Xiaomi 13 Ultra? Let's jump quickly through the night shots. We start off with selfies, much yellower kind of selfie on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. I think it has something to do because it was illuminating the whole display for the selfie, and I had night sight mode on, so that it's like the eye restraint protection, so it was a bit of yellowish. And on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it was just like a flash, just suddenly turning on the screen white after I pressed the shutter button for 2 seconds, I think, which is quite long. I was not sure if it like crashed or something like this. Nevertheless, we have a bit better whites there on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Detail level is not so far off, I would say. It's a bit noisier here, less noisier here. It's a bit artificial looking around my eyes. I think they're doing something with the face optimization and beautifying on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, which I don't like so much, so I would prefer the iPhone 15 Pro Max in this regard. The main camera sensor, when we take a look at here, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, even though it has a smaller sensor, is brightening the scene much more up. You can see it here in the foreground, where the Xiaomi 13 Ultra keeps it more real, I would say, because it's darker there. And I think the iPhone is overdoing it with the yellow here. Yes, there was a yellow light, but it is not so yellow here. The street was not so yellow looking. And I think the Xiaomi 13 Ultra did a little bit of a better job there. We have to be really pixel peeping here, because I would give it a draw, to be completely honest. You can see some blown out, a little bit more blown out lights there, so HDR is a bit better on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, and I think it is a bit more editing on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And one thing I have to give the Xiaomi is like it was very quick. Like I think it took around, I was counting to 1 or something, or 2, where the iPhone 15 Pro Max was definitely a bit longer, like counting to 3 or 4 even, for the night time photo to take place here, which is yeah, I think a good point for the Xiaomi 13 Ultra in this regard. Zoom lenses. I thought the Xiaomi 13 Ultra with its 3.2 times zoom would destroy the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but to be completely honest, like look at the sides here, for example, it's very, very close. Yeah, it's a bit sharper. It's sharpened up artificially on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. What's definitely very good is good here is the sharpness on the front, but when you look at the back, I think maybe misfocusing, I'm not sure, the iPhone 15 Pro Max looks better. So overall, I would give this one here a draw, to be completely honest. Even though the 3 times zoom here is a crop from the main. And at 5 times zoom, very interestingly, I would give the iPhone 15 Pro Max the win. Overall, I think both doing quite a good job. The iPhone is a bit crispier there, I would say, than the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. It has a bit more yellowish kind of tone again, which I don't like in particular. Too yellowish sometimes, where the Xiaomi 13 Ultra keeps more real colors there, but the colors, especially the blue, is a bit too punchy there. But when it comes to detail level, here you can see, you can read the top, you can read the second line, the third line, you can read even the URL, where on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra it's impossible to read it. So yes, the iPhone 15 Pro Max wins at 5 times. At 10 times, I would give it to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, simply because I don't like this noise. But this is like a fight, noise versus denoising algorithms. If you denoise stuff, it looks a bit softer for sure. If you leave the noise in, you perceive it as a bit more crispy, a bit more sharp. But things like, for example, this patch here is clearly visible on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Here it's just like almost invisible because it's like drowning in noise. Otherwise, sharpness and detail levels almost the same, just heavy noisy on iPhone 15 Pro Max. Yeah, which one would you choose? I cannot give a winner here at all. So overall, I would say in terms of zoom lens, they are equaling themselves out. Sometimes the iPhone is better. Sometimes I would say in certain areas and aspects, the Xiaomi is better. But it's not something where I would see, where I thought I would see a clear winner with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, especially 3.2 times zoom. I don't see it there. Ultra wide angle is also a matter of taste. The iPhone is blowing everything up here, so that means like the front is a little bit brighter, and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is basically what I saw and perceived with my own eyes, so it's not brightening up the sky so much as you can see here, keeping it more real. Also, when I zoom in, it's looking quite soft, but I think also the iPhone 15 Pro Max looks a bit worse here. Because it's heavily processed, it is taking way longer time for this exposure. So we have like 1/7 of a second, so it was not even giving me like a night mode timer or something like this, where the iPhone 15 Pro Max gave me 4 seconds or something like this as a timer to run through. And it's not looking very good on the iPhone, to be honest. Like, it's very, very soft, heavily noise reduction going on. Details lacking. It's not the best on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, but I think the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, it's clear that the Xiaomi 13 Ultra keeps it a bit more real, but is also better in the ultra wide angle department. So the ultra wide angle for nighttime, I would rather take with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra than with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, because I wanted to keep it real. When I want it a bit more artistic looking than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and as long as I don't zoom in, night photos you usually don't zoom in, then yeah, the iPhone it's looking better. But overall, night mode, overall, I would equal themselves out and would say I don't give any points for the night mode for anyone here in my conclusion, to make it fair and square, because they're equally good in night mode. And this is very, very surprising to me, because I thought the 1-inch type sensor on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra would beat the iPhone 15 Pro Max in nighttime. What do you think? Let's come to the conclusion and ranking of them both. I would say that overall the Xiaomi 13 Ultra has the better main camera photo quality. Like I said, you don't see it in nighttime, but at daytime you can see it, where the iPhone has more megapixels but looks a bit more artificially enhanced, more sharpened up, where the Xiaomi 13 Ultra keeps it more real there. And I think also in terms of colors, it has a little bit of an edge there. And you have the 2 profiles, which is quite nice. The iPhone has 4 profiles, I think, which is also quite nice, so you can change it there as well, which is quite good. But overall, I would give the win here to the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. The 1-inch type sensor is better than the one on the iPhone, simply. Ultra wide angle, I'm raising the Xiaomi 13 Ultra's 4.0, which I had before, to 4.2, because it's basically the same as on the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. And I was checking others in my ranking system that also have 4.2, like the P50 Pro, and it is basically on par with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. P50 Pro is a bit narrower in terms of detail levels, has a bit of a different processing there, but the same. So this is why also with the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max, ultra wide angle is the same, even though sometimes it's winning against the iPhone. In this regard, I think it's basically the same way in ultra wide angle. Zoom shots, however, I think are still better with the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, especially at daylight. You can see the 3.2 times zoom is helping tremendously the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. It's just a bit more flexible in terms of zoom shots. Even though in portrait modes, I didn't see so much of a difference there. I think for everyday usage, when you have a little bit more light, it becomes apparent that the 3.2 times zoom helps tremendously on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. And then when it comes to 5 times zoom, very comparable at 5 times, but if you go beyond 5 times, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is doing simply better than the iPhone 15 Pro Max in this regard. And this is why we have 4.5 stars there. So that means we had 4.6 before. I'm deducting 1 star because it's very closer together in terms of zoom camera photos to the iPhone, especially at night times or something like this. And the portrait modes are not so tremendously better than the iPhone. I have to deduct 1 point there on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. Video recording quality is better on the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. The colors are nicer, the sharpness is a bit more there. It's a bit more too contrasty look here and there, but it is overall with the FaceTime 4K and autofocus, for example, the ultra wide angle being a little bit sharper in the center, and yeah, definitely the colors being better on the iPhone 15 Pro Max with the main camera sensor. Even though the bokeh is a bit busier and I like the bokeh a bit more on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, I think it's a bit better on the iPhone still, and this is why we have 4.4 versus 4.6 there, so basically the same reversed to the one in terms of zoom quality. When it comes to autofocus performance, both very fantastic. Front camera, yes, the iPhone is definitely better. Autofocus, one of the best cameras that you can get right now for front-facing videos. Front cam on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra just is bad for selfies and backlit situations. The HDR is kicking in, but the lens flare effect is just simply bad. Doesn't have HDR for portrait mode. The iPhone also doesn't have this, but yeah, would be a nice addition on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. And overall, I'm raising it 0.1 point because I think it is the same as, what is it? The Vivo X90 Pro Plus, which also only has 1080p recording there. At least it has 1080p 60 recording, such things. Overall, I think in nighttime it was surprised that it was keeping up with the iPhone a little bit, even though the iPhone was clearly winner here. So yeah, front cam definitely win for the iPhone. Camera UI, however, it's a clear win for the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. So many functions, there's so many options there. However, I downgraded also 4.5 instead of 4.6. Before, I think it was a bit more easier to switch between the apertures, which is now under a sub menu, so you have to click a little bit more. So I'm deducting 1 point there. Not sure why they changed the camera UI this way, because everything else is very good for one-handed usage, especially as they're also selling this camera vlogging and this camera grip in general. So everything is like nicely positioned for the thumb on the right side if you're holding it like this to reach everything, which is quite nice. Extra features, also the iPhone has some extra features, but they're very limited, and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra has just simply more. Star Trail mode, they have dual video mode, they have clone modes, they have time lapse, they have a director's mode, the fast shot mode, super moon, slow motion, panorama, the short film mode. They have night mode for video, which is quite nice. And lots and lots of Pro mode, of course, with all its settings and glory there, with all these little things that you can turn on in Pro mode, which is quite nice. Zebras, for example, but also the possibility to have focus peaking there, such thing, grid lines, and you can record in log as well on the Xiaomi as well as on the Apple iPhone, of course. But it's cool to have these kinds of things, and they have settings even for the JPEGs in Pro photo mode, how much you want them to be sharpened up and so on. So it's not like an extra app like on Samsung where you have to buy an app, or not buy, you have to download an extra app to tweak the camera. It's built into the camera app, so this is why all the extra features adding up here on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra lead to better results. Overall, however, the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max is by a hair better than the Xiaomi 13 Ultra as an overall camera package there, where I would clearly say that it has an advantage with the zoom camera quality on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra and the main camera quality. So if you like this, taking shots in a street photography and such things, I think the Xiaomi 13 Ultra would be a bit better. For day-to-day usage, also I think in terms of consistency sometimes, the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max is a little bit better. This is why we have 4.4 points here for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra gets only 4.395 points. So overall, where does this lead us with the ranking? You can see that the Xiaomi 13 Ultra was here underneath the P50 Pro in the original ranking, but now with 4.37 points. But now if I refresh here, you will see it is climbing up and it's leaving the P50 Pro behind. So it's now climbing here directly behind the P60 Pro, the iPhone 15 Pro Max with the same kind of points, and then I think on top still Mate 60 Pro and the Oppo Find X6 Pro. So I think this is erroring it out, so throwing out all the errors and getting more and more refined. to a list where I would say this is really the ranking of the top, what is it, 5 camera smartphones, and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, top 4 actually, because P60 Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max have the same kind of points. So it's a top 4 camera systems that Xiaomi 13 Ultra is on the last place there, the top 4 camera systems, but still, no matter which one of those top 4s you take, no matter if it's the Huawei, the Oppo, the iPhone or the Xiaomi, you will be happy with taking photos. And there are only nuances apart from each other when it comes to the quality. When it comes to this, even the P50 Pro I would include in this case, because it's also very, very close. And Mate 50 Pro, Honor Magic 5 Pro I would even also include, because they're also very, very close. And even the Galaxy. It's basically the all top 10 up to the Xiaomi 13 Pro. I think this is like one thing where I would say you would be happy with all the photos. You will notice the difference between the top ones and the lower ones with the P40 Pro Plus, sadly. Yes, I know it's a very good device, very old, however, Mate X3, Nubia Z50S Pro, and so on. So this is my conclusion here. What do you think? Write it on the comment section. That's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye. Now I have to quiet down Timmy somehow.